Welcome to Life Beyond B.S, where we ditch the belief systems and the bullshit and get real about life. Here it's about awareness, choice, and creating joy that actually lasts. No perfection, just honest talk and powerful change. I'm your host, Heather McNally, and let's get into it. Hi, friends, and welcome back to Life Beyond B.S, where we go beyond the belief systems and, the bullshit that society tells us and that we don't want to follow anymore. I'm Heather McNally, your host. Today, we have a fantastic guest named Robin Carr. She is an award-winning international keynote speaker, storyteller, and the founder of Thrive Unapologetically. Her work is rooted in helping women who have learned to survive by becoming smaller. Women who have spent years people pleasing, overperforming, or silencing themselves just to feel safe. Sound familiar? Robin guides them back to themselves. Through powerful conversations, storytelling, and identity work, she helps women find their voice, reconnect to their worth, and step into visibility with confidence without abandoning who they are in the process. She is known for creating spaces that feel safe, real, and deeply transformative, where women don't just feel inspired, they feel understood. Robin, thank you so much for being here today. I'm so excited.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I am very excited to be here. Beyond BS sounds exactly like where I need to be. So let's get it. I'm excited.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. All right. So, Robin, before you get any further into the interview, I just want to know, who do you feel like you are at your heart and soul level? What lights you up?
Yeah, so my whole life, I've had the heart of a servant, and that hasn't changed. Who I serve, how I serve has changed, but I will always have the heart of a servant.
Mm,
And helping people, women especially, but also men, um, it lights my fire. And like you mentioned, I'm a speaker. So one of the coolest feelings for me is to be on the stage
mm,
and to see the shift, to
yeah.
see it happen and to see people's faces change. And either it's like a aha moment, or maybe they just had like a little release of something, or whatever it is. All of those things, they just make my day.
Mhm,
So heart center, I'm absolutely a servant, and I'm helping everyone in the best way that I know how, and I'm doing
mhm.
it unapologetically.
I love it. Unapologetically, that's a thing. That's a thing for me too. We're very, very in alignment with each other, and I love it. So this is going to be great. So before you became the woman helping others thrive unapologetically, who were you underneath all of the survival mode and kind of keeping it together?
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Mm,
So I used to be the perfect woman. We'll talk about that a little bit.
yes.
I was the straight A student. I went to college early. I was the cheerleader. I was the one that everybody else came to with their problems. All things considered, like my life was perfect because that's how I portrayed it. And I, when social media became more of a thing in my life, it was, oh, you see all the people who at home they're fighting, like they're going through divorce, their kids aren't happy, like whatever it is. But on Facebook, everything is perfect.
Oh, yes.
And that was even more of an outlet for me to be perfect because it was like, oh, look at this. And it took me a long time to understand that perfectionism was a mask.
Mhm,
So, like, there was the perfect daughter avenue, there was the perfect corporate employee avenue, there was the perfect Christian, the perfect church, the perfect, wife, whatever it
mhm,
was. And I hid behind perfectionism because until 3 years ago, nobody knew the truth
mm,
because that's how I wanted it, because I didn't want anybody to see me as weak
mhm.
or seeking attention for the wrong reasons or so many different things. So
It's
before,
amazing how we
yeah.
can hide behind something like that. And you don't even know it yourself often. You may know
Mm-mm.
that you're exhausted. You may know you're overwhelmed. You may know that something's not right, but you have no idea what, because you're just in that role. You're performing whoever it is that you think you're supposed to be. And I will say, when I was young, I didn't realize that I was connecting with something that I would connect with later in my life. But I used to say to my mom all the time, there's no such thing as perfection. And she thought I was being a flip little brat, to be honest. Like she was like, She would always say to me, I want this room spotless. And I would turn back to her and say, there's no such thing as spotless. And I was being literal. Like, I was not trying to be a wise ass. I was trying to say, like, the minute you dust, more dust falls. The minute you sweep, something else falls. But she was like, oh, yeah, you're being a little wise ass. But I didn't know that I already was recognizing that perfection doesn't exist. Now I know what I
Mhm.
was doing.
Yeah, and it's true. I knew that I was like a type A personality. I knew that okay, you give me a rule, I'm going to follow it. You tell me how to dress for like a role or whatever, that I'm going to do it. But no, there was not this conscious thought every day that was like, oh, I have to wake up and, I never felt, it just came to me. I give a lot of analogies. I never felt like I was in a play. And I don't know if you've ever been in a play, but like you have to be
Hmm.
there several hours early. You have to get into costume. They have to do your hair and your makeup and whatever it is, and you have to kind of get into character before you step out onto that stage. And I never had all of that consciously, but now I know that subconsciously it was absolutely happening, from the
Hmm.
way that I would dress, from just different things like how I carried myself, how I answered the phone. Like, I mean, I was this whole little box of a human based off of what everybody told me that I should be.
Yes.
And I didn't even know at the root who I was, what I wanted, how to get there. I didn't know any of those things about myself anymore. I just knew that,
Mm.
like, oh, I work here and I have this title and I have this whatever.
And
No, no.
are you now, and you don't have to talk about it if you don't want, you can just say yes
Mhm.
or no. Are you now aware
Yeah.
of what caused that for you? What messages you may have received in your life by people that may not even have been meaning anything to hurt you, but just messages that you got?
Yeah, so some of them. I think there's still more to come. I really do.
Mm.
But um so we're gonna dive in. We're getting beyond the BS real quick here.
Yeah.
So early on, it was definitely trying to be perfect enough for my dad to want me.
Hmm.
It was now I don't know your audience, but just in case, I have a phenomenal stepdad who I love very much. And anytime I reference my dad, it's my biological father, who was not a phenomenal man. Let me just make
Hmm.
that disclaimer very clear. Like, my mom told me the story that he didn't want to be a dad,
Hmm.
and but he also didn't have the audacity to just leave.
Hmm.
My stepdad wanted to adopt me. So my stepdad came into my life when I was very young. My parents got married when I was 3. Yeah, 3. So very, very young. My stepdad wanted to adopt me. He couldn't have children. And then my real dad was like, no, like
Hmm.
you're not going to do this. But in the background, so he was the court ordered dad, is what I call him. Well, the PG version of what I call him. Um, so it was this striving for perfection, because it was always like, well, if I'm just good enough, if I just do more, if I try harder, then he will love me. And like, yes, I had this wonderful father, but it's like we want what we can't have. And I
Yeah.
could not understand why my biological father did not love me, didn't want me, didn't want anything to do with me. And when I was by court order at his house, that it was more of like a burden or a
Hmm.
task. It was more of like ugh, I gotta make these arrangements with your mom. Like, anyways, and
Hmm.
you pick up on that when you're really little. So there was a
Yeah.
lot of that. But then I haven't actually spoken about this before, and it's fine. But on the controversy, like my parents were very much, you get A's and B's, kind of like you with the clean room.
Hmm.
You need to keep your hair clean, and it needs to look like Sunday morning church. Not that I was a dirty kid, I just didn't always brush my hair. I just
Yeah.
I
Well,
just
that's
didn't.
normal for, especially if you had a lot of hair
I do
for a
have a lot of
kid.
hair.
Mm.
Um and like I just remember there were so many expectations, and then like if we would go to church, or if we would go to my grandmother's house, or if we would go to um wherever, insert X, right? Or
Hmm.
flying when I was really little, because my granddaddy used to work for an airline. And I don't know if you remember this, but back back when I was a kid, you wore your Sunday best, like your
Mm.
suits and your ties to fly. It wasn't show up in your pajamas with curlers in your hair. Like that was not a thing.
Yeah. I have heard that. I didn't fly until I was like 25. So by then, I think things had loosened up a little bit. But yeah, I've heard that. Like it used to be a luxury, something that everybody dressed up for.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I remember flying and it having to be more, sometimes more even like nicer than church clothes,
Mm,
which was a whole thing. But anyways, I remember all these different avenues and like schools and church and everything else. It was like I had to do everything. I had to be the best at it, and I had to be this version of like perfect.
mm,
And then I went to college early. Well, that was because I wanted to, but it was also like it just kind of made sense. Like,
mhm,
okay, I'm making hundreds in all of my high school classes. My counselor presented this opportunity. Like, of course I would do this. Like,
mhm.
it was the next step. And I could do a entire book around the positives and negatives just about going to college early.
Yeah.
But there was a whole bunch of stuff that like really fed into this perfectionism and it did not help. So there was a third part, and I'm a abuse survivor of every
Mhm,
type that you can imagine. And when I hid behind this perfection mask, nobody knew the truth.
mhm.
And I was able to not be scarred or not be viewed as like whatever.
From the outside
Uh
world.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And so it was, the perfectionism was in my own world, in my own head, protection a little bit.
Mhm,
Because if I was perfect or darn as close to it as I could be, nobody really knew me and
mhm,
nobody really knew what I had gone through. And so it was very hard for people to not like me. And I would get
mhm.
offended. I would actually get really offended if somebody did not like me because I'm like, why not? Like, I'm nice to you. I do this, I do this, I do
Mhm.
this, I do that. Like, it didn't occur to me that, like, hey, you have your people over here and these people over here, and they may not like you, and that's okay. I
Yeah.
wasn't like, I was like almost 30 when I found that out. But like,
Mhm.
but I mean, seriously, I would just hide behind this perfectionism mask and just look at it like, well, nobody really sees me. So what is
Mm.
there not to like? Like, if everyone is
Yeah.
striving and liking the same idea of the perfect human, I'm it. Like, that's
Right.
really what
Yeah.
I thought about. So there was those 3 for sure. And I'm sure there's more to that,
Mm.
but
Yeah.
there's definitely those 3, 1,000%.
Yeah. And I can relate to a lot of what you're saying. But what's interesting is every brain is different. Every human is different, right? So for me, for a long time, I was doing the perfect thing. I was getting all A's in school. I was always doing above and beyond the teachers. Like I'd become teacher's pet, not because I was trying to, but because I was like, well, I want to do more and I'm going to do more. And I want, but it was like I was people pleasing. I was
Mhm.
making sure that everybody was happy. It didn't matter how I felt. For me, when I got into high school, a little bit further, like junior year, almost senior year in high school, I actually started having a really hard time because I started to become aware that I was very unhappy, but I had no, like, very unhappy, didn't want to continue in this life.
Mhm.
And it was like, all right, so my rebellion, my big rebellion was not doing homework and not doing
Mm.
things that others told me because at home I was told what to do all the time. I was told not to speak about anything. I was told, this is how you have to behave. Everything's your fault if you don't do it. So when I started speaking out and telling people things, I noticed I was releasing something. I didn't know exactly what, I didn't know how it was helping me. And that's like the story of my life, I think, is like things helped, but I didn't know what was helping, which is why I love doing what I do now because and I'm sure you feel the same way. It's like, oh, and now I get it. And I just got goosebumps. Now I get it. Now I know why I was doing that. But then you didn't know what you were doing and why you were doing it. And that's hard.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is definitely a big part of my why. It's a big part of my why. There's
Yeah.
other pieces to that, but I didn't I didn't understand and have awareness until literally like 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I mean,
Mm.
I was like,
So
this
can I
was
ask you
me.
then,
Yeah.
What was it that maybe started or sparked your awareness?
Yeah, we can absolutely talk about that. So I used to be in the corporate world,
Mhm,
and back when a lot of the major companies were doing like mass layoffs, I guess they still are, but kind of when it first started, I was one of those people. So, but it was kind of a crazy story because um, April of 24, I had had a meeting and I essentially got a promotion, got a new title, got a raise. Everything was going really, really well. And then fast forward to September, my boss calls me into his or not his office. It was virtual, but
mm,
he asked for a meeting and he was like, "Let's have a meeting today." I'm like, "Sure, boss, we talk every day. Like, what's up?" And in 15 minutes I went from over six figures to zero.
wow,
Absolute zero. And I had never experienced that before because it was like I always had a job. I'd been working since I was 14. Like
mm,
I was always making money. And at this job, like I was really excelling and making more money than I had ever seen in my whole life. Like one of my bonuses I remember was more than I used to make in 6 months.
wow.
And like I'd never had money like that before. I
Yeah.
mean, my family, like we were decently well off, but it wasn't that kind of money, you know?
Mhm,
Funny story, very quickly, and then I'll move forward. But I remember my husband and I, our house, it was built in 1997, and so there was a lot of things that we wanted to like do to make it better. And I had my heart set on these French doors, and they're like oak with like wrought iron, just gorgeous French doors. And I found them online, and they were on sale for French doors.
mm.
Still very up there. And I just pressed the button. But my bonus was gonna cover the whole cost, and we were still gonna have money left over. I knew I was gonna
Wow.
get another bonus in 2 weeks, like, I wasn't even thinking about it. I had
Mhm.
never spent more than, like, $300 without talking to my husband first,
Yeah,
ever.
yeah,
But I just pressed the button. Like,
yeah.
you didn't even think about it, it's a whole different mindset. Anyways,
Mhm,
so I go from that to absolute 0. I had no backup plan. I mean, we had money in savings, but, like, I mean.
who wants to live off of that? You're young.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly, and we were comfortable, and, I mean, our house is decent sized house. So I was like, how am I going to pay my half of the bills? Like the whole thing.
Mm,
So that started this spiral, a very big spiral, very deep spiral, which led into depression actually. That I
mm,
had, I was the cheerleader type, I was the perfect
mm,
one. I had never experienced depression in my entire life, ever, much less one that lasted for months. And
yeah.
so as I'm in this depression, all of the things that I thought that I had healed from. So when I speak, I give the analogy of like I just gone into major surgery, and 5 to 7 days later, you go in for post-op. They remove that wound care.
Mhm,
So yeah, on the outside, you are healed. You're good enough where you don't need a bandage, but on the inside, you're not healed for a long time.
mhm,
That's how I was living my life. So during this depression, all the abuse, all the trauma, all of the perfectionism, all of the things that everybody had told me to do, it just started bubbling up. And for 15, almost 20 years before this, I always had this voice in the back of my head that was like, you need to tell your story. You need to share your story. You need to help other people. People need to hear your story. And I always said no
mhm,
because I didn't want people to think that I was after the attention for the wrong reasons. I didn't want to be a Me Too girl. I was never afraid of the stage. Like, public speaking is the number one fear in the world.
mhm. Yeah.
I was never afraid of the stage. Like, I was, uh, very comfortable on stage, but I never wanted to be seen in that light because of how perfect I had portrayed my life to be.
Mhm,
So, all this stuff starts bubbling up again, and I have a BS in psychology, which I would have told you before was a BS in psychology, 1,000%.
mm,
But I started diving back into that because the crazy thing about psychology is that when you get that degree, they teach you how to analyze and judge and everything for everybody else. They
mhm.
never teach you how to help yourself.
And I have the same degree. And I completely agree. The only thing you ever heard that was even remotely close to it was therapists require having their own therapist, but
Mhm.
that was it.
Yeah, and that didn't really help me very much, but I did go back to my roots and I started, like, reading again and really refamiliarizing myself with all the psychological stuff and, like, okay, how do I help myself? Because there was a moment when I was talking to my husband and our closest friends, and I was like, "I miss my smile.
Mm,
I don't remember the last time that I smiled." And I mean, I went quiet and so did everybody else, and it hit me so hard
that's
that
heavy.
it was very heavy, and it was
Yeah.
true, and, like, it just you ever say things and they just come out and you're like,
Mhm.
"Did I just said that out loud?"
Yeah. Yeah.
It was one of those moments, and so after that, I was like, "I can't live like this anymore."
Mm,
Like, I was present, but I wasn't, and I was still trying to be this perfect person even though I was depressed, and, like, I didn't wanna say that I was depressed because now it has a label, now it's worse. So, all of these things come up, and so
mhm,
I start down the personal development journey and really start trying to heal my mind and started, thinking about how do I what is happening and how do I improve from this? So, all of the, like, books and meditating and which I had never meditated before. I was like, "I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just gonna figure this out." So I started, like,
mhm.
the guided ones on Spotify that were
Yep.
free. Um, and then I started paying attention to how I talk to myself and those negative thoughts and the thoughts that were, you know, they were just feeding the spiral. Like, all of the what
Mhm,
if thoughts and all of the, "Oh, you're a failure and you're a loser because you're not making any money," and
mhm,
all of those things, like, they just attack you, and they just make you stay in this super negative place,
mhm,
and so I read a book called The Magic, which I get no props, but
mhm,
absolutely recommend it to everybody if you have not read the book, The Magic by Rhonda Byrne, part of the Secret series, and it's amazing, and it's all about gratitude.
mhm.
It's
I
a
have to
20
share with you,
Mhm,
that's one of the first real big changes I noticed in my life. And I didn't understand the brain science back then. I didn't know the why. I just know that I had heard go to bed and think of three things that you're grateful for and one thing you're looking forward to. And I was like, all right, I'm going to try it. So, like building any habit, you go and you have to think about it. And then, like, maybe the next night you're like, oh crap, that's right, I'm supposed to do this. And, you know, it eventually slowly becomes a habit, and I got to the point where I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'm gonna go to bed and think about that." And then it was like, "Oh, I get to go to bed and think about that."
mhm.
Literally changed the beginning of huge change for me is I started falling asleep, which I would take 2 hours to fall asleep because my head would spiral all night long. I couldn't stay asleep. I didn't get a full night's sleep, and I would wake up miserable and groggy, and it started to change, and I started sleeping better. I started waking up better, and then I noticed one day I was singing in the shower in the morning, and I was like, "Who am I?" And so, yeah, gratitude is powerful.
Yes, I didn't understand either. I mean, I
Mm,
grew up in the South where
mhm,
it's like, I don't care if this is the ugliest sweater you ever got, you're gonna say thank you and you're gonna mean it. And I speak about that too, but yeah, so I read this book. It's a 28-day journal prompt essentially is what it is. And
mhm,
it's not just thank you for the food that I'm about to eat. It's thank you for the farmers, thank you for the fishermen, thank you
mm.
for the truck drivers, thank you for the grocery store stockers, thank you for the cashiers at the grocery store, thank you for the gas that I put in my car to be able to get there. Like,
Mhm,
the whole thing. Well, then I wish I need to go back and look it up because there's a chapter that talks about being grateful for the negatives.
mhm,
And that was a whole new concept for me. And when I read it, like, of course, all of this abuse and stuff was very forefront of my mind because that was the most negative thing in my life.
mhm,
I remember telling my husband, like, how the hell can I ever be grateful for the man that raped me, for the man that hit me, for
mhm,
all of these other things? Like, how can you be grateful for something so awful?
mhm,
But then I did. And that shift and just knowing that it's possible, like, because I mean, this was before I really would even talk to ChatGPT. She my boo now. But like before I would even talk to her, I just was like, okay, let me just find one thing. Give me one thing that I can write down on this piece of paper that I can be grateful for. And some of it was, you learn the things that you don't want. Be
Mhm.
grateful for that. You can learn the flags. You learn, like, you're grateful that you're no longer in that situation, whatever it is. And it was hard at
Mhm.
first. Um, but that was my shift. And then everything after that, it was gratitude, positivity, and I finally said yes, that I was going to share my story.
Love
And
it.
I finally the whole time I was in the corporate world, excelling, doing all the things, going to college early, I never felt fulfilled.
Mm.
I never felt like I was in my true purpose. I wasn't meant to be a brain surgeon. I could have
Mhm.
been. I Not for me.
Yeah.
But until even recently, because we haven't really talked much about this timeline. I didn't speak for the first time on stage in person until August of last year. I created my own stage. Then I went in October and I competed and came out as a winner, sharing my story,
Amazing.
which, props, but also in a timeline like that was 6 months ago, 7 months
Mhm.
ago.
Mhm.
And I went from I'm not going to share my story because I don't want to be that girl
Mhm.
to I have to share my story to I can't wait to share my story
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
And
And
I
that's how
feel
you
and I
know that that's
Mhm.
what you're meant to do. Because
Absolutely.
I feel the same way. And you said, 15, 20 years of thinking about it. I had even longer of thinking about all of the things. And I have a message and I need to share this. And even things like my marriage, we've been together 35 years. Is it perfect? No, there's no such thing. But are we good together? Do we love each other? Do we support each other? Yes, 100%. But I used to say to people, like, don't settle. And I didn't mean you're looking for the perfect looking partner. You're looking for the partner that has all the money, I didn't mean that. I meant if your heart isn't like, yes, this is right for me, then don't do it because that means you're settling for something that doesn't fill you up. And it's the same thing with, there's so many things. And when my mom became ill and had this terminal illness, and I went through this experience with her for like 10 years, it's another thing that I'm not grateful that she passed away, but I'm grateful for the lessons that I learned and everything that came with the experience of it. And grateful that she was able to make the decision for herself. And, so many things that you go through that you can turn into a positive if you choose to look at it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I could not agree more with you. And a lot of people don't even understand what that feels like. I know I didn't.
Mm,
So we have these thoughts, and sometimes they're thoughts of desperation. Sometimes they're thoughts of whatever they are, where it's like, oh, I have to get a job or I have to be with someone. I don't want to be alone, like whatever it
mhm,
is. But it 2, 3 years ago was when I was like, I understood, no, this is just a thought. This is not
mhm,
a heart-centered, intuitive type direction or directive.
mhm,
I didn't understand that, and I wish I had because that would have been like, saved me a lot of heartache, number
yeah,
1, because when you're chasing the wrong people, number 1, because you think everybody loves you, but
mhm,
number 2, you don't know how to listen to that intuition until
right.
you're aware enough to do so, and
And
I
that's in everything. That's in a romantic relationship. That's in friendships. That's in your own family.
Yes, even careers
Hmm.
or all kinds of stuff. Like, yeah, you can go get a job working at McDonald's or on a farm shoveling manure. But is
Hmm.
that really what you want to do? Does that make really bring you joy? Maybe. Maybe you
Hmm.
really love animals and you really want
Yep.
to do that. Cool. But I tell people all the time, I'm like, but if not, do something different. And I have a love-hate relationship with AI. This is we're just
Yes,
gonna
yes, yes.
because my biggest problem is, and I experienced this firsthand when I got laid off, but when you apply for a job now, it is so difficult
Hmm.
because all these AI things and like, oh, if you don't have this language, or if you do have this language, or if you have it too much similar, it gets flagged and it gets thrown out. We are
Hmm.
human beings,
Right.
and I I left this part out of the story, but full disclosure, I applied for over 5,000 jobs,
Wow.
did not get a single interview.
Mm.
for the first time in my life, even when there were people that were like, "Oh yeah, I know this girl," like giving me all these recommendations, like writing me letters, and I mean, 5,000 interviews and zero interviews, or
Mm.
5,000 applications, zero interviews.
Wow.
And that was part of that revelation because I was like, okay, this is God, like, this is not your
Hmm.
purpose, and I'm going to continue to close all of these doors
Hmm.
until you listen to me.
And I'm so glad you saw that.
hmm
Mm.
But really, though, I mean, AI makes it so hard because you're like, oh, just
Yeah.
get another job, go do this, and they're
Yeah.
like, well, I can't. But now with this awareness, I'm like, because you're looking in the wrong places.
Yeah.
Maybe you've been in finance for 20 years. Do you love it? Is that what your heart's telling you that you love?
Mm.
No? You really love dogs? Go have a dog business. I have a dog
Yeah.
business.
Hmm.
Nobody, and the other thing too, I have a lot of soapboxes. Like you can redirect me if we need, but
I
like
love it.
the other thing, I always thought it had to be one or the other and not both in so many different avenues of my life. If you're
Hmm.
going to be a finance person, you're a finance person. That doesn't mean that you can have a library that you open on the weekends.
Hmm.
If you want to be a whatever, you can't have a dog business. If you want to do this, you can't. Guess what?
You
There are
can.
multi-business people everywhere, and you can do whatever
Yes.
you want.
And the more you look into things in the world, the more you see that people are working with multiple streams of income. And I
Mhm.
actually have my first business coach. She taught me that you can have the and life. You get to make your
Yes.
choices. And if you want your finance business and the dog business, you get to do that because you get to make the choice. Whoever said that you have to take a job, and this is what used to happen eons ago, is you take a job and you're there for 30, 40, 50 years and you retire, and then that's it.
Mhm.
You kind of worked your whole life. You didn't really get to do the things you wanted to do. And now you feel like, ugh, that's it. I don't want that for myself. I don't want that for anybody I know or care about. And being a business owner at this point in my life, I do have multiple revenues, like multiple areas that I'm in that I'm multi-passionate about. And I try to show my kids that because you don't have to say, oh, well, like my oldest works in a bank, but you also get to do whatever else you want in your own time. My
Mhm.
youngest is going to school for pharmacy, but he's also a musician and he's also studying Spanish and he's using all his passions in the ways that he chooses to do. And I love that.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Those are the things that I want.
Mm.
So multi-passionate. I wish so bad, and this is the thing, so I'm really close with my niece, and I tell her all the time, like, "Don't stress yourself out," because she is very much like me, which is
Mm.
very cool because we're not even blood related. She's my husband's niece by blood, and she's the straight A student. She's like, "Oh, I wanna be a brain surgeon, or I might wanna be a lawyer," or whatever, and I'm like, "Cool, do it." But also, though, don't limit yourself. Like, you don't have to
Mhm.
do one or the other. And she's like, well, medical school's expensive and law school's expensive. And I'm like, yeah, but if money were not an object and you could do everything that you wanted to do it. I'm like,
Yes.
because that's how you need to live your life. And that's what I wish so badly that I could instill in the youth because
Mhm.
our generation, we're figuring it out. But I'm 35. Like, I would have been unstoppable if I would have
Mhm.
known that at 15.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I can't even imagine. Obviously, we have to grow and we have to learn and we have to do all of the things.
Mhm.
But also, though, I have this huge passion in my heart that's like, I want, number one, to help the youth understand that they have a choice, they can make a choice, but that they also don't have to.
Mhm.
And, but also that they don't have to carry all the things that you and
Yeah.
I've carried our whole life because
Right.
I want them to know it is a choice.
The other thing that I think is really important to know, and I've tried to tell my boys this, especially my oldest, who has a tendency to think like, if I choose this career, that's it forever. And I've always said, I can't tell you how many people I know that have been in their late 30s, 40s, 50s that literally started a whole new career, went back to school, became a nurse, became a doctor, became whatever it is they chose to do.
Yeah.
And, I've done it. And that's part of life. We're not supposed to be stuck in one spot forever. If you are, you're not living.
No, and I love that you said that because I was actually on a podcast earlier today, and my guest, she mentioned that it's wild to her that as a society, we are having children make decisions about the rest of their lives
Mhm.
when their prefrontal cortex is not even 100% developed. Like where you make decisions is not even fully developed. And we're like, what do you
Not
want to
until
do for
you're
the rest
done
of your life?
college, if you do the
Right.
typical route. And that's a thing that I learned about when I was in brain science in my course, is the man who was teaching it said it's actually not a good idea to send a bunch of kids off to college when their prefrontal cortex is not even fully developed. And it would be better for them if they waited, maybe got some life experience, some work experience, and waited until, 25, 26 to actually go to college and make that a norm, because they'll make better decisions for themselves physically, for themselves emotionally, for themselves educationally.
Hmm.
And, it's a hard place to be when you're so young and you're being told, well, now you have to decide what you're going to pursue and what are you going to be and for the rest of your life. And it's overwhelming.
Yeah, well, here it is right here, right? Like it just needs to
Hmm.
go viral because the whole idea is that because I remember even when I was in college and I had friends and classmates who they were like, "Oh, I'm gonna take a year, a couple years or a year, and I'm gonna go do my master's." It was almost like they were shunned.
Hmm.
And this stigma that like, "Oh, if you quit, you never go back." Okay, cool. Maybe you had some realization that that's not really what you needed.
Hmm.
Or maybe you go back and you do something different.
Yep.
I wish so bad that there's so many things from a society standpoint that I would love
Hmm.
to change and transition and just make it to where you can do whatever you want.
Absolutely. And I will say that my oldest son, I hope he doesn't mind calling him out, that he went to college and he withdrew a couple times because he was like, I'm not feeling this. I'm not happy. I can't stand it. And so we're like, okay. And so he withdrew a couple times. And finally, the third time he said it. And I had been saying all along, this doesn't have to be, I had said before he went to college, this doesn't have to be your path. Your path, like, there's no such thing as a straight line in life. Your path in life is going to be full of turns and twists and hills and all of the things. And it's okay if you say, this isn't for me. And finally, he admitted it the third time that he was like, I can't stand this. I hate it. And I said, oh my God, thank you for saying it finally, because I've been trying to get him to just admit how he felt. And he just kept saying, no, I want to do it. I just don't think I can do it right now. And finally, he
Mhm.
was like, I can't stand this. And you know what? Here's the thing. The truth is, you don't have to go to college at all if it's not right for you. You can
Mm-mm.
go later in your life. You can go to college when you're younger and then go back and do a whole new bachelor's degree or get a master's degree later on. You can go to technical school. There's school for everything now that you can go and you can learn. Like, for example, I got coaching certified. It's only about coaching. I didn't have to do all these gen ed classes. I did go to undergrad school. I did enjoy it for the most part, but it's not for everybody. And that's okay. And that's what makes the world so beautiful, is that we all have there's so many options for us. And with life changing and the world changing, there's even more options.
Mhm. Absolutely. So what's he doing now? Or was
So
this like
right
real
now he's
recent?
working in a bank and his long-term goal is to work in the music industry.
There you go.
And you know what? We'll see what happens. He is not a musician per se, but it's all music is in his head. It's constantly there, and he can hear things that people don't hear. He can
Mhm.
put things together. So he kind of wants to be a music producer someday, and I encourage him 100%, follow your passion.
I love it. I had no
Mm.
idea. Like when I was in college, I thought I wanted to be a nurse, and that was like a whole traumatic story in itself. And then
Mm.
I was like, okay, well maybe I'll be a veterinarian. And was going through and doing all the things. And then my counselor was like, so you have 8 years of chemistry. How do you feel about that? And I was like, I don't. I want out. I'm doing
Mm.
something else.
Mhm.
But, like, there are all these different avenues, like, I had no idea, and it was really part of that people pleasing and, like, "Well, what
Mhm.
does society want me to do?" Like,
Yeah.
and the worst thing, and if you not you, but everybody, like, if you know somebody who is extremely smart, the worst thing that you can tell them when they tell you what their dreams are is, "With a brain like that, you're gonna waste it on art or
Mhm.
whatever." I wish I could count on a single hand or even both hands how many times I heard that.
Mhm. I did too,
And
and it was usually from my father telling me I was wasting actually, when I made the decision, I went to college, I was working in major hospitals in Boston and was developing a pretty good career in terms of, like, administrative management. And then I couldn't stand doing it anymore. And I ended up leaving that for a lower paying job in human resources just to get out of the field because I didn't like it anymore. And then my husband and I chose to have our first child, and we chose for me to be a stay-at-home mom. And I
mhm,
was told that I was wasting my life. And guess what?
mhm.
I don't care what job you do, what you choose to do in your life, it is not a waste if it's what you're choosing to do.
Not at all. Not at all. I yeah. Nope.
Yeah.
I wish those things just weren't even, and I feel like sometimes, A, it's either joking or B, it's like in a,
Mm,
very passive aggressive, but not necessarily in an intentional attack type form.
mhm,
But those things like, "Oh, you're wasting your God gave you this brain and you're just wasting it." And I'm like,
mhm.
"So I need to go be a neurosurgeon? Like, what do you want from me?"
Right, right.
But I
And
don't, because
when
that's
you
not what
could
my
be
passion
making a
is.
much bigger impact doing something else that you're
Yeah,
thrilled with doing because you love it so much, you're gonna make that bigger impact.
absolutely. Absolutely. That's I mean, here I am. No, it took me a
Yep.
while, but here I am.
Yeah, yeah. So for you, you started to recognize when you left corporate or when you
Mhm,
were kind of told, okay, it's time to move on and do something else because of downsizing or whatever they were doing.
mhm.
When was the moment that you finally said, all right, this isn't meant for me, obviously. What was the recognition of what it is that you wanted at that point?
Well, the 5,000 applications, that was a
Mhm.
lot.
Mm,
It was I didn't know what I wanted.
okay.
I was still struggling with that voice that was like, "You need to share your story."
Hmm.
Didn't fully understand the how. Then it was like, "Okay, I guess I'm gonna be a public speaker." I don't even know how. I don't
Hmm.
know what that looks like. Okay. But I knew, so I wrote it down. There were things that I knew that I wanted and things that were like non-negotiables.
Hmm.
Freedom was the top of my list, and or even just having like normal hours, normal jobs, but also being able to work with who I wanted or not. And that sounds very selfish almost, but I was tired of working with people who were just nasty, negative humans, and like I just didn't even want to be in the same Zoom call with them. Like I
Hmm.
just, there's just people that
Yep.
just give you the ick.
Yep.
I did not want that. And so I really started with a list of what I did not want, because I think as
Hmm.
humans that's easier than us to being able to identify what we do want.
Yeah.
And I
And it
didn't
can help
want
you narrow things down, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't wanna have to go into an office. I had been working remote for almost 3 years at that time, and I was like, "I don't really wanna go into an office," and where I live, that wasn't really an option. It's not like there's a whole bunch of corporate jobs. You couldn't just, like it's not like driving to Atlanta, like where I used to live.
Hmm.
So, I knew I wanted time for myself, I wanted time for my husband and our house and, like,
Hmm.
my hobbies, and time was a big thing because both of my previous employers had really taken advantage of my time. And
Hmm.
not and there was no compensation for that, and so
Hmm.
then I started kind of to navigate, like, okay, if I'm gonna speak and I don't want all these things, sounds kind of like I'm gonna do my own thing,
Hmm.
okay, how am I gonna make money? And
Yeah.
that's when the dog business was born, because I was
Hmm.
like, well, I love dogs and I know there's a need for this, so I just started on Rover because it was like, well, let me just make some money, right?
Hmm.
And then that turned into a whole full business that I do still have some Rover clients that come in, but I also have my own business. It's called the Everyday Wonder Woman. I don't talk about it or advertise it very much, but anything from walking dogs to boarding dogs to taking care of cats and farm animals and but then I also started cleaning houses a little bit, and it was just kind of the everyday Wonder Woman, right? Like,
Mhm.
various things. And then I started really understanding, like, I'm meant to be an entrepreneur. Like, I'm meant to
Mhm.
have my own business. I'm meant to make my own rules, make my own schedules, like, go on
Mhm.
vacation when I want to or not, or really just have that flexibility and freedom.
The
And
freedom is powerful. So when I went and sat down with doing my core values a few years back, it's been a while now, but I had never really sat down and thought about it. And somebody presented it to me. I was like, what are your top five core values? And I was like, I don't know. So I got the list, there's like a list of 100. It could be 2,000 as far as I know. There's so much out there that you can break things down really fine, or you can be a little bit more general. But one of the things that surprised me was that one of my top five is freedom.
mhm,
And I thought to myself, well, freedom wouldn't be like when I first went down the list. No, freedom's not like we're free, of course we're free. And as I started really sitting down and truly contemplating what was important to me, I realized that freedom was like freedom to make your own choices, freedom to have your own hours, freedom to do what it is that you want to do was so incredibly important to me, especially after being a stay-at-home mom for so long, because I had the freedom when my mom was ill to be there for her and do what I needed. I had the freedom to be there for my children when they needed me. I had the freedom to be there for other people. And the thought of going back to like a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday actually gave me like anxiety because I was like,
mhm.
no, you're taking away my freedom. So it's pretty wild how that word, when you live in a free society, you take it for granted until all of a sudden you sit down and really think about it.
Yeah, absolutely, and that was one of my first things that I started doing reels about. So,
Mm,
I always do motivational Monday, talk the truth Tuesday, win Wednesday, thriving Thursday, and then freedom Friday.
love it.
My husband's Air Force, and so I
Hmm.
had that component of freedom, but then also, like, I'm speaking next weekend about the freedom to be yourself,
Mm,
and that is one of my favorite speeches that I've even written so far. I haven't even
hmm.
I mean, I've delivered it in practice, but I haven't fully delivered it yet, and I'm so excited because it's exactly what you just said, but it's also the freedom to have to have opinions, to be yourself, to take
Hmm.
up space, to, like, have emotions,
Yeah.
which all of those things as a woman, sometimes as a human, but as a
Hmm.
woman, they are so minimized. "Oh, you're
Yeah.
overreacting. Well, now
Hmm.
you're
Oh, yes.
underreacting. Well,
Yeah.
now you're this. Well, now you're that." Okay, but as long as we are relatively regulated and we're not being completely unhinged,
Hmm.
we're respectful, whatever, we should be allowed to have the same kind of opinions and everything that everybody else does.
Yeah, yeah. And going for men too, having raised two boys, I wanted them to be emotionally intelligent also
Mhm.
because I'm a very emotional person. I feel things and I feel them deeply and I let myself feel them, and that's so important. And I wanted them to know the same thing, that you're supposed to be feeling, you're a human being. And
Mhm.
as I tell everybody, you feel something, you just don't put your roots there. You don't live there. You move on and you deal with it and you move on. So, what are some of the experiences in life that you had that you feel have, even though they may have been hard to go through, have prepared you for what you're doing today?
All of it. I mean,
Mm.
genuinely. So every every abuse situation, every traumatic situation, everything like that, but also the good times, right? I know I talk about all of the bad things a lot, but the good things too. So having a mom who would let me be completely silly if I wanted to,
Mm.
or there I had a cheerleading coach who would tell me that can't was not in my vocabulary. Him too. I mean, there's been a lot. I mean, there's been good, bad, and different. Like,
Hmm.
I grew up on a farm and had horses and pigs and all that kind of stuff, and, like, that's hard work.
Yes.
And it was one of those things where it was like, I hated it at the time, and it was actual punishment. We'd have to go out in the pasture and pick up rocks and because the rocks could mess up the trailer or the
Hmm.
tractor. But it that was hard work, but it also taught me a lot because it was like
Yeah.
endurance and strength, and I literally believe I can do anything that I want. I can anything that I put my mind to. Like, granted, there are physical limitations, but
Hmm.
also though, like I believe it's possible.
Hmm. I
With
love it.
preparation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the good, the bad, the indifferent, like and I have a tagline actually that says your past does not define you, it prepared you.
Mm-hmm.
And I lean into that 1,000% because every part of my life, from my first breath until the one right now, it all brought me to right where I am right now.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I've had people ask me things like, well, if you could go back and do it all over again, would you choose a different dad? Would I have loved a dad? Because I didn't have a dad. I had a father. Yeah, I would have
Mhm.
loved that. I would have loved to have different experiences. However, would I be who I am now without it? No, and I wouldn't change it because I love who I am now. I love where my life is. And it took me a long time to be able to say that. But so it's the same thing. It's a beautiful thing to be able to look and say, I'm good with where I'm at.
Yeah, absolutely. And I used to answer that question and would say yes, be like,
Mm,
well, yeah, obviously I wish all these things didn't happen to me. And yeah, I wish whatever had been different.
mm,
Sometimes even that I had not gone to college early,
mm-hmm.
but I wouldn't change a thing
Right.
now.
If you're living in regret, that means that you're not living in your current situation where you are in your life right now. So,
Absolutely.
you talk about thriving unapologetically.
Yes,
What
I do.
does living unapologetically actually look and feel like in real life beyond like what mo people say as motivational quotes? What does it really look like?
Yeah, so we already talked about freedom. That's a
Mm,
big part of it. And my version of freedom, with that freedom to be yourself, freedom to express yourself, just, all of that. But it also is, now I will say, as a disclaimer, I guess, like I do apologize when I know that I need to. Like
mm-hmm.
I'm not perfect. I mess up. I do apologize. But I don't, or I try not to. My husband still catches me on this. I don't apologize for things that aren't my fault. They're not
Mhm.
within my control.
Yep.
Like the things that are just life, I can't control the weather.
Right.
Now I can control, like, if you're having a bad day and I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm so sorry that whatever just happened to you. That's
Hmm.
genuine. But I'm
Yeah.
no longer apologetic for who I am,
Hmm.
for my opinions, for my boundaries, for my morals, for saying no. Just no.
Yeah.
'Cause that's all is needed, just know. Some people will tell you that I have changed, and that is true, and I'm very grateful that they can see that.
Hmm.
But it's also being unapologetic and not feeling like you can't let go, not feeling like you have to hold on to everyone and everything,
Hmm.
whether it's a physical thing like, "Oh, I got this notebook at a conference 3 years ago, I have to hold on to this," or
Hmm.
a human or whatever.
Hmm.
I I didn't ever have a lot of friends. So when I did have friends, I would hold on to them with like a like a vice grip because I was like, "Oh, I have a friend, I have to protect it." But now I'm like, I am who I am. This is how I feel. This is how I believe. If you don't like that, I am not your cup of tea. I'm not your brand
Mm.
of tequila, and that's okay. Like, I'm not.
Love it. Love it.
Everybody doesn't love tequila, and it's
Tequila's my
okay.
drink, just saying.
I mean, all the synergy. But I use that on purpose, 1, because it's branding, but 2, because not everybody likes tequila.
Hmm.
Most people, in fact, don't like tequila.
Hmm.
And from being the person who was always trying to be perfect and trying to be everybody's best friend and wanted everybody to love them, I'm like, "No, I am a fine tequila, and you are lucky
Hmm.
enough if you can afford to have me in your life."
Love
Like, that's
that.
how I view myself.
That's beautiful. That's so beautiful. I just love that. So you're talking about change and that you've changed and people have noticed it. You're working with people who are ready for change, or at least they think they are. what do you find holds most people back when they're like, yep, I'm ready, and then they have to start trying to work with you and do the change? Do you think they're held back because they're afraid of failing? They're afraid of becoming somebody different? What do you think does
It's
that?
a lot. It's a lot of things. So the work that I do is very complex. There is a huge component that's there, like fear is a big one.
Mm,
Fear of being seen, fear of taking off their mask, whatever that might look like for them. Fear of fear of change, fear of letting go. But there's also a lot of imposter syndrome. Like,
mm-hmm,
who do you think you are to do A, B, or C?
mm-hmm,
There's a lot that are afraid of change. They say they're ready for it, but then you're like, okay, well, then we're going to talk about the things that you don't want to talk about. And they're like, oh,
mm-hmm.
you want to know the real me? Like all the things? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I do. Lack of confidence, lack of self love, I mean, I could go on for a lot.
Mm-hmm.
These people have a lot of things they've been carrying for a long time and it holds a lot of people back. But I mean, it really does. You have to break through those barriers to be able to even have a real conversation.
Mm-hmm. Very true. And for someone to be able to open up and become aware of something, but then acknowledge it. Because I think a lot of times people hear, and I've said it myself, you have to become aware before you can make a choice. But not only do you have to become aware, you have to acknowledge it, own it. Like,
Mhm.
this is what I do. I see it now. And now I know that I do this. Now I'm ready to start making this change. So I think owning it is a big part of that process that a lot of people kind of gloss over because you can
Mhm.
become aware. That doesn't make change. You have to become aware, acknowledge it, and choose to do something about it.
Yeah, for sure. And that actually tees me up very nicely for my empower comeback
Mm,
because so the first letter is E, which is
okay.
embrace.
Yes.
So you have to embrace where you are and you have to also give yourself some grace as you're embracing it, right? Because
Hmm.
yes, you have to embrace it, but you also have to that's your awareness.
Hmm.
And then I go in through the other 5 steps of empower and that is but you're absolutely right. You have to without judgment, I use that a lot, and people look at me like, "I have to be aware, but I can't judge myself for where I've been." I'm
Mm.
like, "Nope, no ma'am, you can't."
Yeah. And that's hard. That's really hard, but it's a skill that people can learn because I will tell you that I said the worst things to myself, not just internally, but externally, because I thought,
Mhm,
well, nobody else can make me feel bad if I beat them to the punch. If I say it out
mhm,
loud, then they can't say it to me, the things that are in my head. Nobody was going to say to me the things that I had in my head that I actually said out loud, that I actually pushed people away because I said these awful, awful things about myself. And I made them uncomfortable and I made myself uncomfortable. So, that is something that it's very hard to stop yourself sometimes from doing these things. But if you start to become aware and then start to embrace the fact that okay, this is what I've done. And now I just have to get past that like judgment of it and just get to the place where like you feel feelings come up in your body. And
mhm.
when you're thinking these things, when you're saying these things, these feelings come up in your body and you have to listen to your body and go, why am I so tense? Why am I shaking? Why am I having a panic attack?
Mhm.
Once you start working through the feelings and you can embrace, all right, well, this is who I am and this is what it makes me feel like. I want to feel different, then you can make those choices. But if you don't work through the feelings of it, it stays in your body.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I mean, that like I said, the whole empower, you just kind of in
Mm.
a nutshell, a little bit. You kinda touched
Yeah.
on each one of them a little bit, so that's very cool.
So what do you feel like peace feels like in your body?
That's a hard one. Peace feels
Mm.
like peace.
Yeah.
To me, peace feels like without anxiety,
Mm.
without stress, being able to just be relaxed. And I don't know about everybody, but for me, like I used to, even if I was sitting, my brain was always going.
Hmm.
That's not really true peace. It's without spiral. It's without all of that. It's just peace and joy are like sisters in my world.
Hmm.
Um, and Matthew McConaughey says it best, where you don't really want to be happy. You don't want
Mm.
happiness, you want joy because
Yeah,
happiness is fleeting
right.
and joy is internal.
Yeah, it's just part of you.
And yeah, I mean, that's what it is. And it took me a long time to realize that. Now, where I am, we're getting ready to move in a few months, and I have the utmost peace. And most people can't even process that statement. Like, you're moving in 4 months, but you have peace.
Hmm.
But I do. I
Yeah.
really do. And I have understanding that everything's gonna happen exactly how it's supposed to. Everything's gonna fall
Hmm.
into place. Yeah.
That's beautiful. So I want you to tell me about any celebrations or any special events, or besides, of course, moving, or upcoming events that you have going on in your life right now.
Yeah, so there's a lot, but just two of them. So this summer, I'm rolling out my storyteller edition, where it is you're called unapologetically. And so if you have a story that's within you, and maybe you're like I was, where that little voice is like, you need to share your story, this is the place for you to start. So that includes 4 weeks of group coaching. Everybody will be coached, through their story, how to have the confidence,
Mm.
taste of the mindset shift. And then actually, it's going to be a virtual summit, and you'll have your stage, and you'll be in front of some of my colleagues and friends and mentors who are also speakers, but they are
Mhm.
also wonderful humans who will be able to provide some feedback. And then, in addition to that, the other piece of that, which rolls in nicely to my next thing, is I'm in an anthology, and those are all about to be ready to be purchased. I'm literally waiting any moment for mine to arrive
Wow.
at the door. But that book will be signed, and it will be part of that whole virtual summit package. So you'll get the 4 weeks of group coaching, the actual summit, and the book, so that it's not just my story, but you get 7 other women, powerful stories, who were courageous enough to be able to share their story. Because whatever's happened to you, your pain has a purpose.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's fantastic. That not only are you speaking your purpose and your story, but now you're enabling other people to do the same. And that's such an incredible thing. And like I said before, when you can be the brain surgeon, like you said, but not really have the soul and heart in it, you can be great technically in doing that, but are you fulfilled? So you can have more impact on the world if you are fulfilled and you're living your purpose. I think that's so beautiful. So how can people connect with you?
Yeah. So Facebook, Instagram, it's at the Robin Carr. No, I was trying to get him to just be
Oh,
quiet just so I could finish that. So Facebook and Instagram, it's at the Robin Carr. LinkedIn, it's just Robin Carr. I also have a website that's thriveunapologetically.com. And at any of those, you're welcome to send me a message, an email, whatever works best for you. I'm here for all of it. And if you're scared, you're absolutely like, reach out. I'm
mm,
not here to judge you.
hmm,
Whatever it is, like, I didn't have anybody in all of my stuff, and that's what this is for. That's what this space is for. It's for the people who may not have anywhere else that they can just be themselves and just
hmm.
exist
And
without
I
judgment.
think people can feel that energetically, the way you're speaking, your body language, everything. But I will say I was able to speak with Robin before today, and it was the same exact thing. It was the same person, the same authentic, true person. So that's so wonderful. And my last question for you is what does living a life beyond BS look like for you?
Yeah, so it's very similar to living unapologetically, but I do what I want. And I mean
Yeah.
that in the best sense, because I have 2 businesses. I was just in an anthology. I have another one that I'm turning in next weekend. I wear what I want to wear.
Hmm.
I am my true authentic self, but I no longer wear the mask of perfection, and I no longer subscribe to the bullshit of life.
Yeah. And isn't
No,
it like you can breathe?
yes,
Yeah.
1,000%. Like you said earlier, like a huge weight is just like lifted,
Hmm.
and then you're able to just be you. It's amazing. It's absolutely
It
beautiful.
is. It is. And I love that for you. I'm so happy for you. Congratulations on all of the things that you're doing and the impact that you're making. And thank you so much for being here today.
Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you, Heather. This has been absolutely amazing. Thank
Yeah.
you.
This has been great. I want to thank you all so much for being here today and sharing this space with me and Robin. My hope for you is that you walk away knowing that you have the power to choose differently. Go live fully, freely, and unapologetically. Your life beyond BS starts now. I'm so grateful you were here today. Remember, your peace, joy, and happiness aren't found in the BS. They're found in your choices. If this episode spoke to you, please rate, review, follow, and subscribe, and share it with a friend. For ways to connect or work with me, check the show notes or visit heathermcnally.com. Until next time, keep choosing you and keep living your life beyond BS.